The NBA Finals is on.
Yes.
It's
Yes,
game
it is.
4.
Yes,
Game
it is.
4.
It's a big game, right? Pacers win. They're going 3-1.
Big game tonight.
Many will say the series is over, but many will still take the Thunder value and gamble. And the biggest story of the day is where Kevin Durant will end up.
Is it? I've managed to avoid this.
I've managed to turn on ESPN, and Monica McNutt asked the question,
Where's he going?
does Kevin Durant on the Knicks make him a title contender?
I mean, they were already a title contender. They were in the conference finals.
But does he make him a more legitimate title contender? Now, Shams Charania gave us 5 teams, 5, that have reached out and had real conversation. Okay? Houston, San Antonio, Minnesota, Miami, and New York. Now, there might be a Clipper brewing, and I'll play a clip here in a second for you, but Kevin Durant, free agency, or not free agency, but trade market stuff, and this is somewhat of the problem of the league, is becoming kind of as important or big a deal, a topic conversation as the actual championship itself.
It's distracting from the championship of your sport. It's almost like what happens in college athletics with the transfer portal going on, but the names aren't as big as Kevin Durant, where you're dealing with an offseason in the season, but we're not actually to the offseason yet, and this will dominate headlines. It's Kevin Durant. He's one of the biggest names in the league over the last 25 years. I love the idea of can he turn the Knicks into a title contender when they were literally just in the conference finals. Like, isn't that by definition a title contender? You were, what did they lose, in 6 to the Pacers? Am I right on that?
Yes.
So they were 2 wins
Correct,
away from
Armando.
going to an NBA Finals.
Yep.
In one of those games, they blew a massive lead in game 1.
Could have won that series.
Very well could have
Yeah,
won that
could be in
series.
the NBA
Like, they're
Finals.
already a title contender. Now, maybe he's the missing ingredient. I don't know what the hell they have to trade. Salary-wise, they can make it match, but they don't have any draft capital left because they traded it all for Karl Anthony Towns last offseason. So how they figured that out, I don't know. But you knew the Knicks were going to put themselves in this conversation.
Well, there's a radio station in Phoenix, Arizona that had some reporting on this because he is a son, and this is what they're hearing.
I think there could be another one or two. I think the Clippers might have some interest as well. So I think it's possible that there are other teams that have interest in acquiring Durant. What we don't know is if Durant has interest in going to those teams. So Durant is going to be very vocal in this and have a say in this and work on this. And as I've been reporting all along, this thing is going to get done before the draft. So this will be, by the draft day, because it's very likely that there will be draft compensation in this deal. So this thing could get done right before the draft or the day of the draft. I don't expect it to be after the draft.
So that was 98.7 Arizona Sports FM on the report there. That host, I'm blanking his name. I forgot to bring him up. I want to give him credit. He's actually had some real reporting multiple times throughout his career down there, like really good sourcing. He's been right. Clippers is a team that's kind of flying under the radar. Are we making too big a deal of Kevin Durant as an impact player? I know he had a good statistical season.
I don't think so. I think it depends on where he goes.
Well, but what are we to make? I have problems with this. I am not refuting his ability. The dude can get a bucket. But what am I to make of what happened in Phoenix and Brooklyn? How am I to square that and then say, well, if he goes to a team, that puts him over the hump? He couldn't put the Suns in a conversation for the playoffs.
No, you're not wrong.
And the net thing was a disaster.
Yeah, the interesting thing about the Nets stuff is that he was a half a size shoe difference from maybe winning an NBA championship when he hit that shot. And then they ended up losing. Was that game 7 when they lost, when he had the toe over the line? Game
it may
6?
have been game 6 or 7.
I can't remember, but I remember that shot going in and then his toes on the line because the shoes are a little bit too big and they end up losing the series. And correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that was the year that Milwaukee went on to win an NBA championship. And so
it was.
It's interesting
they were
just
down 2-0 in that finals.
How different that history might have been had they done that. The other part of the Brooklyn era that I think I do, look, I've made my thoughts well known about Kevin Durant and his decision to join Golden State over the years. I do enjoy him as a social media follow. I also think when you look at the Brooklyn era, it's unfair just to pin it all on him. That was supposed to be a big two, and his running mate was not playing because of COVID restrictions. Remember that whole thing? He can't play in New York, but he can play road games. And then they got James Harden, who went like fat bodysuit, I'm the third banana, I don't want to be here anymore. Like, that was just a dumpster fire from everybody involved. They hired Steve Nash to be their head coach. Like, that just was bad. From top to bottom, bad for everybody. And yet they still damn near went to an NBA Finals in one of those seasons. The Phoenix stuff, you got an owner who was chasing after aging veteran players. in hopes that it would work out. Like, they went and got Bradley Beal thinking that he was the missing piece and we'll have a big three. And how did that work out for him now? Is anybody going to be able to trade for Bradley Beal? Because he's got to sign off on it. Nobody's going to take that contract. That ended up being a disaster. So there's a balance of blaming the star in the NBA, but also trying to be fair about the circumstances that they are in.
But he's an all-time. I don't know if he's going to crack your guys' top 10 as a player when we do that show next week.
Probably not.
Well, but like he's in that conversation for most,
He
right?
is.
He's up there on the all-time point stuff. He's still going. He had a good statistical. I think you're making a valid point, but I'm also saying straight up,
I don't view him as the guy who's going to lead my team. If I'm trading for him, I view him as a guy that's going to be he's the missing piece.
But how many times I watched not so many. I didn't watch all their games, but when I watched the Suns, I'd be like, he has 24 points and 9 rebounds,
And it doesn't mean anything.
and
You're
they're down
by 17.
20.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd be like, I think what we've learned about him, he's a very interesting dude. I find him refreshing. I don't have to agree with everything he gives when he responds to people on Twitter or even love the fact that he joined the Warriors. I don't have to, but I can still acknowledge all-time bucket getter, one of the most talented players the league's ever had.
Without a doubt.
But also, I think what I have come to have as an opinion, and he'd probably think I'm an idiot, and I would have no problem with him thinking that. I think what we've learned is the leadership quality of him at the last however many years of his career is not the same level as some of the other past and present even stars that this league has seen.
Yeah.
I think he's a dude that's like, I'm a baller. And that's kind of it. Locker room, managing, the personality types, like what you ask franchise players to do. I don't think he has kind of some of that stuff. And I think that's what I've come to think of him as a player. And so that's why I'm asking, is he really going to put a team over the top? If not even with the Suns, with Devin Booker as a running mate, they can be an 8 seed.
You know how I feel about Devin Booker. But look at some of the teams that are on this list, okay?
Yeah.
So we talked about San Antonio yesterday. If he goes to
that fit.
If he goes to San Antonio, Wemby's your number one guy. Can you just go get us 28 a night? Wemby can run around and do everything.
Yeah.
Can you just be a scorer, right?
Right.
Houston, to me, makes sense if the Giannis stuff doesn't transpire.
And it doesn't appear that
it doesn't appear that it will. That would have been their big go-get move all-in off-season thought. If they don't get him, Houston clearly needs another scorer. Their offense is like a rock fight, right?
Exactly.
They can get
They got
ugly.
the
They can play defense.
Yeah.
We need somebody that can be a reliable bucket.
And they've got draft capital mixed
They can
with,
make that trade happen.
Here's Reed Shepherd. He didn't even play for us.
And he was a top 5 or whatever
Right.
pick last year in the NBA draft. That one makes sense to me. And I think they're kind of building around Amen Thompson at this point. And so I'm not asking you to be the leader of the team. I'm just asking you to be
in Şengün, yeah.
just come be a vet and come give us 27 a night. The fit that makes the most sense to me, now I'd have to look through all their capital and what they got. Minnesota's the team that I most desperately want to pull off this trade.
To play with his
and Edwards needs a number 2.
Yeah.
He desperately needs a number 2. They had Karl Anthony Towns there. They didn't like the fit with 2 7-footers. The contracts weren't going to work out. They made the decision to trade him. Julius Randle
Does Phoenix want Randle? Because I think you'd have to.
You probably have to move Randle. And Randle had a good postseason. He had great moments for them where you're like, all of a sudden, holy crap, where's Julius Randle coming from? But if all of a sudden Ant Edwards is my number 1 guy, and then when you double team him and trap him and blitz him, who's he swinging the ball to? Kevin Durant? That's the kind of fit that makes sense. But the part of this trade, and I brought this up yesterday with San Antonio, clearly he seems interested if this is getting floated out and playing for any of these teams. Again, I don't see how New York has the draft capital to pull it off. But you got to get him to commit to sign an extension because he's got 1 year left on his deal. And so you don't want this to be a 1-year thing. I don't know how long of an extension you want to sign him for. But it's not going to take a Giannis package to get him. It will take a decent-sized package, not a full hog, a mid-hog, to get Kevin Durant. And I want a commitment that he's going to sign maybe a 2-year extension so I know you're here for 3 years.
They call that a Sprague. We'll get to a preview of Louisville, Oregon State in Omaha. Mike Rutherford is going to join us for a look at the Louisville Cardinals, who we know nothing about as a baseball team.
Let's trade for Kevin Durant.
I'd be in.
They want DeAndre Ayton back?
Well, they might because it's an expiring.
Yusuf Nurkic didn't really work out down there.
Would you give them 2 of your future firsts? I don't know if they'd want that far out, but would you give them some of those Bucks picks?
Ayton and 2 future firsts for Kevin Durant? Think about it.
I'd get weird, dude.
I'd think
I
about
really
it.
would. I'm not. Oh, what ridiculous! Why?
Why?
Everybody says you're not going to use those picks anyway.
Right.
You just got to keep. And if Giannis stays, like those picks won't be as valuable as you think.
We already have our superstar on our roster, too. So then you add Kevin Durant, and he can be the number 2 to our superstar.
That would be so fun. And I think 10 games and he's on Swag's list. Swag
I think it's the mere idea of trading for him, he's a top 40 Blazer of all time.
Well, it should
just
have
the conversation of him being on the team.
Should have happened.